I'll call the meeting to order and declare it open at 6:30 p.m. In the event of an emergency, the building may be evacuated. You'll be required to vacate the building by the rear entrance and gather at the breezeway between the library and the art gallery buildings. This is a council's designated emergency muster point. Under no circumstances is anyone permitted to re-enter the building until the all clear has been given. The area is deemed safe by authorised personnel. In the event of an evacuation, a member of council staff will assist any person present with a disability to vacate the building. Then 1.1, apologies of absence. Do we have any, Mr. CEO?
We have no councillor apologies. I'm afraid, though, I am short Mr. Hodges and Mr. Maunder tonight.
Live streaming recording. This council meeting is being live streamed and recorded. By speaking at the council meeting, you agree to be live streamed and recorded. Please ensure that if and when you speak at the council meeting, you ensure that you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Orange City Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of the council meeting. Recording of the council meeting may be made for administrative purposes. Item 1.3, acknowledgement of country, and I'd like to ask Councillor Peterson to conduct the acknowledgement of country.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the lands of the Wiradjuri Nation, the traditional custodians. Many in this community, this required me to recognise the belief not new for this country. Tens of thousands of years, those living here sought after and respected their creator. The creator who made this land and entrusted it to the Wiradjuri people. Pay my respects to the Wiradjuri and any.
Thank you, Councillor. Declaration of interest. Does any councillor wish to declare any conflicts of interest in any matter for consideration at the council meeting? Councillor Kinghorn.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just need to declare an interest in closed item, so 6.1, the proposed boundary adjustment to Cottonwood Close. It's very close to where I live, and I just think it would be inappropriate for me to vote on that one. I won't.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson.
Closed item 6.1. I'm a member of the Orange Evangelical Church whose land this item is concerned. Leave the room and not vote, and I'll take this opportunity to assure my colleagues.
Can I just have a council member check Councillor Peterson's microphone? It doesn't appear to be working all the time, or may have to come closer.
Blue Tony, like the suit?
Thank you. Lovely. No, it's not working again.
It's a great suit.
There we go.
Oh, thank you.
It's proximity issue, yeah.
All right, happy Easter.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other declarations, councillors? Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a non-significant, non-pecuniary interest in 6.1 of closed. I live in the area, but near enough that it actually causes any impact on me.
The others? Being no others, I will declare one in the number 4.1 notice of motion, improved accessibility in the CBD. I have a brother who's a quadriplegic, but I don't believe this would hinder my ability to make informed decisions, and I will be staying in the room. Thank you. Item 1.5, opening prayer, and we welcome Reverend Andy Martin from the Holy Trinity Church to lead council into prayer. Thank you, Reverend.
Well, Mr. Mayor, councillors, thank you for the invitation this evening. Let's pray together. Almighty God, thank you for all those who give themselves in service to our community in so many ways. Thank you especially for the men and women gathered here as our elected representatives, both those who've joined council recently and those who continue to serve, along with all those who work with them and support them in the council administration. As they meet tonight, help them in all their deliberations to act with wisdom and understanding, integrity and decency, and with due regard to the needs of all their constituents, especially to the vulnerable and disadvantaged. Help them, please, to listen to each other well, and also to listen to any community members. At this time in particular, Lord God, as Christians around the world remember and rejoice in the death and resurrection of your Son, Jesus Christ, we recall his declaration that he came into the world not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. May the same spirit of selfless, sacrificial service direct our counsellors in all that they say and do, and may they provide in their words, decisions, and actions an example for all of us, to your honour and glory. These things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you very much.
Councillors, just with regards to the Local Government New South Wales Award presentation, which was due to be held tonight for former Mayor Jason Hamling, unfortunately that has had to be postponed due to his other commitments, so it will be conducted on the 6th of May. Open forum, there are no registered speakers, so there is no open forum. If we can go to item number 2, mayoral minutes, page 5, there are no mayoral minutes actually. So we go to item number 3, confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting, item 3.1.
The minutes, Mr.
Thank
Mayor.
you, Councillor Whitten. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Steadman. Any discussion, councillors? There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for. Unanimous. Item number 4, notice of motion rescission. Notice of motion we're looking at. There's a recommendation on page 18. Councillor Peterson or Ruddy, would you like to move your motion? Thank you. Councillor Ruddy.
You want to talk to it?
You don't want to speak to it? Well, then I'll go to Councillor Peterson.
Yeah, I'm happy to take the motion as read. The sums involved are modest, approximately $7,000 as a one-off non-recurring investment. As useful background, these requests were first put out 3 years ago. The new Ageing and Access Committee is still supportive of the subsidised ramps and portable walkway proposals. Therefore, I would like them to be part of the budget submission and then be voted on one way or another so that we can give clarity to the members of the committee.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you for the notice of motion. I just have a question, I guess, probably to the CEO. Mr. CEO, how do you determine a budget submission like this? I mean, my understanding is that it's going to be a balanced budget, but now how do we determine this budget submission, and how will council then determine what goes in and out of the budget?
Thank you, Chair. The process I'm proposing that we follow is that council votes, for example, on this motion tonight, to include it as a submission. As you know, having briefed council on the draft budget, council staff then went ahead and prepared the extensive package of budget papers which you'll get at the next meeting. That package will then go on exhibition. We will gain public submissions from that exhibition. We will gather all those together, brief council, come back with a series of submissions. They might be for new playgrounds from the community, but we will include these. Then you will have a table at that final budget stage to include or not include in the final adopted budget in June. Now, if you want to maintain a balanced budget, staff will then look for offsets to maintain the balance. I think we did that last budget. You'll recall we had the ins and outs approach. And I think with the Central West Negatives report later tonight, if that's included as a budget, it'll be included as a submission. Hope that.
Yes, Councillor Kinghorn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just on that basis. Do we then need to remove the word consideration? Because I think that's been an issue before with things that are to be considered and they're not put in. So I'm just proposing an amendment to take the word consideration out of each item so that we include it in the submission stage. So don't consider it, just do it.
Yes, I think that's probably overworded, Mr. Chair. I think that would work. Councillor
Peterson, you happy to accept the change?
Certainly am, if the mover is happy to accept the change.
Yep, thank you. Any further discussion? Yes, Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I'm happy to support this going in with the other submissions. I guess I just wanted to just clarify too that if any of us councillors want to put in a submission as well, we can just, when it's on exhibition, we can just make submissions ourselves rather than, I mean, I take my hat off to both councillors for putting a notice of motion in, but this isn't the only way we can put budget requests in, is it?
Well, I mean, I would say, Chair, that council laws have had their chance with two briefings to add to the budget. I mean, if there is some burning issue that hasn't been included in our two workshops.
Thinking like if a community group came up and started lobbying and all those sorts of things. So.
Absolutely. If it's coming through a community initiative, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Greenouch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could, I'd like to move an amendment for point 2. Like, I totally agree with Councillor Peterson. Like, it's been 3 years. I can't, like, for $7,000, I can't see that we just don't make it for point 2. That included in the budget is $7,000 for purchase of a 10-metre portable walkway to improve accessibility for all council events. Like, let's just be done with it.
Moving the word consideration.
Well, can I ask for a clarification? Is there 7? Where does it say 7?
5. It's not 7. It's 5,000.
Well, 5. You know that the
5.
budget. You know that in the budget.
$7,000 is overall.
Overall, okay, yeah.
Like, let's just purchase the 10-metre walkway. Like, it's $5,000.
An amendment. That's an amendment. Yep.
Yep.
For
Got
number
an
2.
amendment by Councillor Greenouch, seconded by Councillor Duffy. Any further discussion on the amendment? Yes, Councillor Whitten.
Rather than putting this in the budget for ratification and go.
Councillor Whitten, your microphone isn't working.
Just buy it and be done with it.
Okay, no, that's what I was just wondering. Yeah, so it's not going to go into the budget as a ratified budget item.
I might just go to the CEO to read the motion as it would stand.
A staff proposal on my right here is what we would propose. So the motion would be 1, that the budget includes in the submission stage a proposal for funds to support businesses to purchase subsidised ramps to improve accessibility to their stores. 2, that staff immediately purchase from the current budget a 10-metre portable walkway valued at $5,000. The budget
There's
we're
funds left over from the Rainbow. You know what I mean? We've got the money there.
to
Like, we
improve
should just-
accessibility. So we're going to take it out of the budget we're in.
Yep.
So that's the amendment.
So the amendment reads as 1 and 2.
Said. Yeah.
Okay, I have a question. My question is that I see that the way the motion reads at the moment is that there's an allocation of $2,000 to go towards subsidising ramps. I'm not quite sure how many businesses are in Orange. I'm assuming there's a lot more than 20. So what would the process be then to work out which businesses would get the $100 or the $1,000? Yeah, the $100.
Certainly, I mean, I'm happy to negotiate that with relevant staff, but thought would be that if we put it out there that was available, that this money was around, businesses, we could give them where they can get them from. Businesses could purchase the ramp. We could then give them $100 afterwards. If we genuinely got 20 businesses to do it, I'd be so happy. Be surprised. I'd be so happy. Whilst we've got a lot more than 20 businesses in town, only certain numbers would have that single step at the front where the ramp would be useful for. I thought the advantage of having the businesses have to both buy it, then they own it. It's their responsibility. They have to use it safely and put it away and store it and the like. It's just a contribution from council. But I'm very happy if staff members ultimately changed process, if not the idea, if there was something that would need to be done a bit differently.
Can I might just ask the director to come up to the microphone because either or is. I'm just wondering where businesses stand with regards to accessibility laws and what the obligation is of the landlord to provide them.
Yes, a number of our buildings are probably heritage listed and have been constructed under previous conditions. So there would be a number of buildings that would have a step at the front of them. There's probably, as a continuing use type arrangement, there's probably no legal requirement for them to provide for accessibility, but there would certainly be a moral obligation, and maybe this level of support would help some businesses to purchase such a facility. I can't comment on if it's a permanent fix rather than a temporary thing that rolls in and out or whatever. If it's a permanent fix, then that may require some planning consent to a heritage building of some sort.
Thank you very much. Just to the actually, we've got an amendment here. But I'm just unclear about this ramp you talk. This 10-metre thing. How would that be used?
So, I mean, they're two separate things. The portable walkways, certainly some of the events we've had in Orange, when we get a fair bit of rain, the ground can get pretty wet and muddy. I certainly think of the magic show at Robertson Park, which it became a bit of a pit. We would then have the option of putting that over the top of the pit, similar to the walkways you sometimes see at beaches in the sand. So people can go down there. So it's a temporary thing that can be put down there if we need. Could also be put down at other events, say connecting a stall and the like. I think with the 10-metre one, we'd want to see if it's useful. I mean, you could spend loads of money on getting loads of meters. Let's just see if this 10-metre one actually does get use, and if it is useful, and then if it is, we could consider in the future getting more.
Question to the CEO. With regards to storing it and who would be responsible for taking it out of storage to put it in the park and things like that, especially on weekends during the week?
Oh, we'll incorporate that into our events team's workload, really. I mean, it's probably quite heavy, so if it's a weekend event, we would get depot staff to do the heavy lifting.
Thank you very much. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question on the amendment, just for clarification, probably through to the CEO or Director Sharp. So the suggestion is to take the $5,000 out of the existing budget. I'm just wondering where's it coming from?
7,000, isn't it? All up.
And 5.
The 5 for the amendment, just that Councillor Greenhalgh has proposed.
The
5, yeah. So I'm just wondering where it would come from.
So we originally we originally allocated 50 to the Rainbow Festival, then we gave 30. So we do have a little
I can think of, through you, Mr. Chair, I can think of 3 places where it could come from. Perfect. I would imagine in this year's budget there would be at least 10 places we could get it from.
Excellent, thank you.
You have to believe me.
I do believe you.
And I will identify that in the next quarterly review.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. CEO.
Amendment. Given that we can just find 5, why can't we just find 7 and do the whole lot?
To change my amendment to that.
Like an additional $2,000 is really, as the question that you asked, Mr. Mayor, if 20 businesses jumped on board and it went really well and there was more businesses wanting to jump on board, maybe we could review that at a later date.
Thank you. I just might ask Director Sharp for a comment with regards to that, if that's okay. I think it's a timing issue amongst other things.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, Mr. Mayor. My concern with that would be that 2,000 then only gives businesses a period between now and the 30th of June to not only consider the opportunity, apply for and be awarded that $2,000, which very much limits the potential success of the program. If we were to have that included in the budget, we could commence that early in July, and that then gives them the full 12 months of that financial year to apply and then be successful. So it just broadens the opportunity for your program to be be available to the community.
Thank you, Director. Are you happy with that response, Councillor Ruddy?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got an amendment put forward by Councillor Greenhalgh, seconded by Councillor Duffy. Thank you. Any other discussion with regards to the amendment? There being none, I'll put the amendment, show of hands for. The amendment now becomes a motion. All those in favour of the motion? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you.
Councillors, if we go to item number 5, general reports, 5.1, there's a recommendation on page 20, confirmation of the minutes from the policy committee meetings held on the 1st of April 2025. Can I have somebody move and second? Moved by Councillor Mallard, seconded by Councillor Power. Any discussion? There being none, I will put the motion, a show of hands for. Unanimous. Item 5.2, there's a recommendation on page 31, Statement of Investments from March 2025. Can I have a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Greenhalgh, seconded by Councillor Duffy. Any discussion on this item? There being none, I put the motion, a show of hands for. Unanimous. Thank you. Item 5.3. Digitalisation of Central Western Daily negative collection budget allocation. Councillors, a recommendation on page 55. Can I have somebody move?
Move the recommendation.
Moved by Councillor Whitten, seconded by Councillor Duffy. Any discussion, councillors? Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one more clarification on this. So this is to include it in that table that the CEO was talking about?
Any further discussion? Councillor Peterson.
I support the recommendation. I have two questions which could well be taken on notice. The first one being we're currently scanning about 5,000 digital images a year. Thanks to the new volunteer skills, we plan to save $4 an image, which is about 80% of the scanning cost. But despite the substantial saving, we still estimate we'll scan about 5,000 images a year, same cost as before. I would have thought if there was a substantial reduction in cost per image, we should be able to have more images scanned for $25,000.
Councillor, can I answer that one now?
Love to, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, an increase of 34% with more images to be uploaded to Recollect over the 4-year period, going from 18,600 images to 25,000 images. In fact, I think is the answer.
Well, thank you for that. And the second question, it concerns an endpoint. There's 44,000 large format negatives and a further 100,000 35mm negatives, and to scan them all would cost about $700,000. We'd like a plan sometime about when this project would be considered completed.
Councillor, Mr. Chair, the 35mm negatives are being scanned by the Historical Society on an ad hoc basis in response to inquiries. However, a different method is required for systemic digitisation, as these rolls of negative include an abundance of real estate and other advertising. There is no plan to digitise beyond the old 1971 old format negatives. So there is a plan in place, and it is not to do every one of them.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I'm happy to support this being considered in the budget. I have very similar concerns to, or questions, I suppose, to Councillor Peterson in terms of what's the long-term plan? If we do decide to fund this for the next 4 years, that's another $100,000. So, and then even after that, we're not even including the 35mm negs, but you've still got over 20,000 images left. Are we looking at another 100,000? I suppose my question, and I'm happy for it to be taken on notice, is given that there's a community heritage grants, I'm just wondering whether the Owen DHS has considered applying for those sorts of grants to assist in this work.
I'm happy to take it on notice. And we'll bring that back, certainly for the budget submission stage.
Any further discussion, councillors? There being none, I'll put the motion, a show of hands for. Unanimous. Item 5.5, of Management, Cook Park, Robinson. Sorry, my apologies. 5.4, responses of questions taken on notice. Council, has a recommendation on page 61. Can I have somebody move and second it? Moved by Councillor Mallard, seconded by Councillor McDonald. Any discussion? Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Just on my on page 62, just wanted to sort of make a comment in there that at the meeting it was Director Greenham did actually advise that he would review the 10-metre length to see whether it was long enough, not just whether that was what was approved, but is it actually enough for safety? Sorry, I know it meets the Australian road rules, but in that particular circumstance, when you got lots of buses coming in and out, my understanding was that you were going to have another look at it.
Absolutely.
That
So
side, rather than just the rules.
yeah, I looked at it from both a safety point of view, but at end of school time, not at beginning of school time, and at those times it didn't seem to be an issue. It is definitely 10 metres back, which is also in accordance with the Australian road rules. So I don't see any issues with it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ride more often.
Thank you, Director. Any further questions? Councillor Duffy?
My question, or my comment is on page 61, question taken on notice with regards to council. Doctor service out there at the airport, the shed that's there, clarification that the ambulance is clipped there as well. Do that as well. Just while that's coming, directors coming to the table there, I know we had a very successful event at my shed, but thing is that the Wings for Kids ladies pays around about $10,000 from that power. They rode in their postie bike ride and they raised 429. Absolutely.
You've done that, and that's greatly appreciated, Councillor. And good work by that organisation also. Director Greenham.
I have to take it on notice on whether the ambulance actually stores an ambulance there at the airport. There is a place where the ambulance does transfers for air or patient transfers, but I don't believe the ambulance is actually stored at the airport. I believe it's still an ambulance from town that comes out and services that air patient transfer.
Director, do you want to take it on the notice to clarify that?
Yeah. All good.
So can I just have a repeat of what the question is, Councillor Duffy, if you want to...
Regarding whether the ambulance was stored at the actual airport.
Which ambulance is it? No, which ambulance? So there's two different ones. Thank you. Yeah. Read it. Yeah, thank you. Okay, any further questions? Discussion, yes, Councillor... Councillor Steadman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question on the disabled car parking in Lord's Place. Am I reading this that there's 3 all on the eastern side? And if that's the case, why isn't there one on the other side?
Mr. Greenham.
East.
There's one mid-block on the eastern side and 2 either end of the street on the western side.
And the one in front of the Old Australia Theatre?
There's not one there anymore. So as part of the amendments, part of the changes to Lord's Place that we did under the previous council, we rationalised the disabled car parks, but we also made them compliant. So they've all got ramps, like curb ramps, to make them compliant. And when we, as a council, decided to reverse the decision, one of the conditions of reversal was that we keep those 3 disabled car parks as they were, because there's been quite a bit of money spent making them compliant.
Can we get that in front of the theatre painted over then? We teach our young guys when they drive to follow what's on the road. Lines don't matter.
Yeah, will do.
Councillor Peterson.
This might be interesting to the committee. There's two quite useful disabled car parks in Macnamara Lane if you want to use that block where the Hotel Canopolis is without crossing the road.
Thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for. Unanimous. Item 5.5, plans of management, Cook Park, Robinson Park, Orange Botanical Gardens, city reserves and rural reserves. Councillors, there's a recommendation on page 65. Can I have somebody move the recommendation? Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Power. Any discussion? Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, my discussion is around Cook Park, and I do note that there's a Avery. There hasn't been much discussion.
Your microphone.
Yeah, you might like to put your microphone down, if that's okay, Councillor. I might go to CEO for a comment on that, an update.
Thank you, Chair. These plans of managements, they're definitional documents that every Crown land parcel must have, and a council is required to have these plans. They're very much like a zoning document. They define what the park in this case is, what is allowed to happen in the park. The aviary issue, the aviary incident, arose from, I think, the cultural plan of management. So it's not directly related to this because this doesn't propose any actions or works around the aviary. I'll take on notice what you said about the contact with the bird group. I know there was contact. The gentleman's name is?
Tony Ford.
Tony Ford. And we'll come back to council. We'll come back to council with the latest on that.
Thank you.
Just as another comment on following up on that, is there, when we have a document like this, and I must congratulate council for later on for their comment on that, if there's any change in this, can it be written in red as well? So as council, we can easily find that there's a difference between the previous management plan to this management plan.
Absolutely. So this will go.
We've done that very well in a later document.
Okay, this will go into commission, Chair. We'll bring that back to council.
Thank you very much.
With amendments.
Excellent. Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, and thank you for the document. My question was regarding, it's on page 50 of the document, 116 of our notes, 4.2.1. Just notes the plan, I'll quote it, to cater for the grey-headed flying fox colony, currently transient resident. Just wanted to know what you meant by cater. Is it merely obeying the law, or is there modifications that are planned for that community?
Well, I think quite simply it...
Yeah, well, what's the...
Quite simply, it means don't destroy their habitat.
Law.
It's correct.
Thank you for clarification, Mr. CEO. Any further discussion, councillors? There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for. Unanimous. If we go to item 5.6, council-related strategic policy reviews post-exhibition. Councillors' recommendation on page 431. Can I have somebody move and second it? Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Ruddy. Any discussion? Councillor McDonald.
Yes, I would like to actually, because the recommendation one is that we determine the change in allocation of funds. So I would like to propose that the conference budget be dropped down to $48,000 a year, and that the council professional development allowance be increased to $2,500. That was my submission. Having recently done the executive certificate for elected members through LGNSW, found out the hard way that such an incredibly valuable course development is actually way outside our PD allowance. So it sort of got me down a little bit of a rabbit hole in terms of finding out how much had been spent previously. But when we're looking at our conferences and professional development, obviously both are very important to keep as options for councillors. But I think that $1,500 just is, you get next to nothing for $1,500 a year if you want to do proper high quality training. So even 2,500 doesn't cover the executive certificate, but at least it's a bit closer. And as I said in there, like over the last 10 years, there's like over 250,000 was never spent from the conference budget. So there's an opportunity to redirect some of those funds. The 48,000, as staff have put in the comment there, it's in the last 5 years, but even in the last 10 years, it hasn't reached 48,000 to be spent. So I think 48,000 is a good ceiling to hit. So that's what my proposal is, and also having the maximum childcare reimbursement to be set at 1,200 per councillor.
The same one or different?
That's included in the. It's all in the one strategic document.
Thank you. Councillor Kinghorn.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of things. In relation to the education, it's capped per councillor. So if somebody, I generally pay for my own education because I can, and I just think for me that's the right thing to do. So the funds that would have been spent on me doing that are then just lost. Is that right?
Might ask Director comment. Director Sharp.
I'm just checking that's working. Great. Through you, Mr. Mayor. If there is excess funds in excess of what is available for individual councillor, the individual councillor can request through the CEO for a larger amount. And if we know that there's another councillor that's not planning on using that, we can redistribute it to that councillor who is requesting more than the annual allowance, and have done so in previous years.
All right, thank you. The other question is in relation to the childcare increase. I requested some information which Director Sharp was kind enough to send me yesterday. So this, just to clarify, this particular, the current budget goes back to 2011. It was based on a rate of $8 per child, up to a maximum of $500. So it's actually 14 years old. There's been no change since then. Just a bit of a rough workout last night, and bearing in mind that I come from when my kids were little, we didn't ever qualify for childcare rebates or maternity leave or any of that stuff. So I've had to sort of look all this stuff up because I wasn't actually that familiar with it. But it's obviously a lot more expensive than $8 an hour for childcare now, especially out of hours. The process itself has been in place since the early 2000s and did gradually increase over that time. Just did a quick add up, based on what it was in 2011, roughly 2.5 hours per fortnight for 24 meetings. If you did the equivalent to that now, based on a rate of $30, which is probably still not enough to cover the costs, then it's more like $1,800. So I think actually $1,200 is not unreasonable. I would like to put an amendment into that if I can, that it actually be linked to the CPI and increased each year, so that it stays in line with what a bit closer to what the actual costs are. Can I do that, or?
I'm happy to include that into the motion if that.
Yes, and we can just put a footnote in
to save
that
some
table saying
having to revisit it so much. It also made me realise sort of more that because first of all I thought, why is it in there? Because not many jobs pay for childcare. And I know this isn't a job, well, sometimes it is, but it does matter that we have a diversity of people on council, and it is a relatively small price to pay to get people who just otherwise wouldn't be able to afford to come. So happy to support it.
Any further discussion? Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, just to go to Councillor McDonald, just explain figure she's using for the professional development. What was the tally figure you used for that?
Sorry, you mean what I'm proposing?
Yeah, what you're proposing. I'm happy to.
I'm proposing to have take 12 grand off the 60,000 from the conference budget and put that straight into the councillor fund. So it gives each councillor an extra $1,000.
I just want to know that I support the idea of adding the $12,000 to the professional development. I don't have any problem with that at all, but I have concerns about taking away the $60,000, dropping that figure down, And I don't have a problem with the $1,200, as Councillor Kinghorn's done some research on that, and she's a very good job on that. But that's my concern there. I think the council I know can adjust these figures as they can as they go along. They're only policies; they don't have to stick to them. We haven't done before, and that's just my thoughts on it.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Mayor. Question through you to the CEO. I know the answer, but I thought for the audience who are watching, because we've changed an element of the recommendations, do we need to go back out onto exhibition for the CPI increase?
I would not think that amount requires that. I think it is not material would be the expression.
Thank you.
Councillor Ruddy.
Can I just confirm, I want to make sure that I'm not confused. So the numbers that Councillor McDonald was using, where she has taken from 60 down to 48, all of those figures are on page 432, right? That's what we're all
half
reading?
of them are, yeah. So I sorry, through
Just
you,
not sure.
through you, Mayor. I went back through the last 10 years worth of annual reports.
And that's
what the spend had been, which is why, to address Councillor Duffy's concern, I know that we haven't even gone close to hitting the 48,000.
I think that's just what's confused me, as I don't know why he's worried when the information here is pretty clear that we haven't
and the
got
5
close.
years before that, we don't go anywhere near it either. So, I mean,
I just want to get clarification from Director Sharp with regards to taking that 12,000 from 12,000, wasn't it? Yeah, from the councillor conference budget, which will bring it down to 48. My concern with this is, by doing that, I have no problem with the increase in the childcare, but when you look at the councillor professional development budget of $18,000, in my time on council since 2017, we've never gone over it anyway. And to date, my understanding is, here we are in April, and we've only used 50% of that 18,000. So why would we? I'm just trying to understand why we would steal from Peter to give to Paul when there's no need to do that. Because what we're doing is actually potentially not allowing some councillors to go according to the current policy. We're restricting councillors' ability to go to conferences to learn and from other councillors and partake in certain other activities which occur at these conferences, and that's listening to ministers, things like that, which are very important for all councillors. So I'm not quite sure why we would be looking at reducing the councillor conference budget from 60,000 to 48 when the current councillor professional development budget has never been exceeded. And as it stands at the moment, it's only spent 9,100, which is approximately 50%. And I'm looking at the other figures. We've only ever gone over it once, and that was in 2018. And that was a new council when there's a lot of training involved. But apart from that, we have never gone over 2022. We went up around 70%, but apart from that, we've never gone over 50%. So I'm just trying to understand what the benefit would be in doing that.
Just to clarify to you, Mr. Mayor, if I may, you're right that professional development hasn't been exceeded that 50% except to those two occasions. Even in 2018, it didn't go over the total budget for the year. We're still only at 92%, and in 2022 we did have 73%. Individual councillors certainly did reach their budget limit, and as we spoke with Councillor Kinghorn's question earlier, we were able to redistribute some funding for those that applied for it at the time. And if I may, I'd also talk to the trend around the councillor conference budget, and the table that's in the papers is obviously correct, but the trend is certainly upwards, and some of those figures we're obviously looking at through COVID times, and we had some lower attendance because there were less conferences available, but in the 2024 year we were up to 83% of that 60%, so in which case we would be dipping into, if we were to take that that amount off and give it to the professional development. We wouldn't have had enough to attend all the conferences that were attended in 2024. And to date, we're already at 72% of that $60,000 in this current financial year. So we would be limiting the current year's ability to attend conferences if this transaction was to occur.
And where would that money come from then?
We would have to either limit spending somewhere else or decline the requests to attend those conferences because the funding is not there.
Thank you. Councillor Greenouch.
Question to the Director through you, Mr Mayor, if I can. But none of us have ever been knocked back on training. Like, I think it's a case-by-case basis. Like, if it's something we really need, like the opportunities to come and discuss it, you know, we could certainly approve it.
Through you, Mr Mayor, that is correct, because at this stage, with the professional development budget, we haven't, as the Mayor pointed out, we haven't gone over that 50%. So if somebody approaches us and asks, are they willing to attend a training session, we talk with the other councillors and make sure the budget's available within that professional development budget, which means we don't have to dip into other budgets to access that, and professional development is able to attend. I think the problem has occurred where someone's applied for it very early in the financial year, and it's hard for the remaining 11 councillors to commit to say, I won't spend anything of my allowance, and therefore can't approve that particular one councillor who's gone early in the financial year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Duffy, you had a question?
Yes, my question is to the CEO. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I think I know the answer to this one. The fact is that they are policies, and council does have the right to go against its policy and increase funding to any section of the policy. We've gone against policy before unanimously, like we did at the Clifton Grove event that was out there. So we do have the right as a council to approve more funding to go to conferences or training or professional development.
Through you, Mr Chair, you do.
Councillor Whitten.
Mr Mayor, are you suggesting that you're not supporting the recommendation because you want to keep the policy as it is?
Yes, I do, but I'm happy to increase the childcare portion of it, but I don't want to be taking $12,000 out of the councillor conference budget and then allocate it to the councillor professional development budget when the councillor professional development budget has never been exceeded and we're only at 50%. All the time I've been on council, it hasn't even gone close. 1 year it did, but that was on the year that the councillors were first elected, and there was a lot of councillors at that point in time. So what I'm saying is I don't want to muddy the waters in some ways by taking from one, and which may not allow councillors to go to what may be an important conference.
Happy to move the amendment as written.
Thank you, Councillor, and I'll second that.
And I suppose if I may make a comment, this is a guideline for staff and for councillors to work to. It doesn't mean that we have to go and spend the money, right? And I do applaud the fact that people take time out to do the training to learn, especially the new councillors. But as you become, I'll choose my words carefully here, because I'm talking about myself, seasoned, the need for the training will go away, but the need to go to conferences to stay in front of the decision makers will always be sort of static or constant is probably a better word, yeah.
Before I go to you, Councillor McDonald, just have one question to the CEO, and I think I know the answer to this, but with regards to the allocation of $18,000 for the professional development and $60,000 for the council conference budget, I'm assuming that if that money isn't exhausted, the remainder of the balance doesn't carry over to the next financial year?
No.
The consolidated revenue.
Thank you, Mr Whitten.
That's what I thought. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Can I just get clarification? So the amendment is...
Yes, I can do that.
Supporting the increase in the childcare reimbursement, but not the changing of the conference funding.
That would be what I'd be
or
recommending.
The professional development.
Okay. Would you like me to read it? I think?
Yes, please, Mr CEO.
The amendment is that council... I just want to get this right. That council adopts strategic... No. Okay, it will just be a single item amendment.
Yes.
It'll be that Council adopts Strategic Policy SD03, Council payment of expenses and provision of facilities, including the $1,200 childcare allowance, with CPI increases yearly. Full stop, that's the amendment. The base motion, which was yours, Councillor, is the that Council amends the 60 down to 48 and the 1,500 up to the 2,500.
Can I speak against the amendment
Yes.
then?
Before you do that, I'd just like to ask for a clarification on one thing from Director Sharp. And I'm hoping you know the answer, or with regards to the childcare reimbursement, is it my understanding that it will only be paid on receipt of an invoice, and that invoice can't be provided by a family member? Is that correct?
To you, Mr. Mayor, yes, it should be a third party that is providing that, and it should not be a direct relative of the child or the counsellor.
Thank you very much. Councillor McDonald, you were going to speak against the amendment?
Yes. Look, I just suppose I'd like to give you a bit more background as to my thinking on this. I guess the difference between the councillor professional development allowance and the conference budget is that councillors are capped currently at $1,500 each. Okay, yes, we can have wiggle room with that. But the conference budget is like an open pool to all councillors. So some councillors access more of that than others for various reasons. So the reasoning behind me wanting to promote, increasing the professional development allowance is so that it's not so hard for those of us who actually, our professions, you've got to have professional development, ongoing professional development. Doesn't matter how many years you've been in a career, you need to maintain your skills and your knowledge and currency. And I get what Councillor Whitten said regarding conferences, but actually being in the room with, lecturers and people is slightly different. That was really my reasoning. And then when I looked back at the last 10 years, and two of those councils had significant changes in numbers on council, but we didn't go over 48,000. So I understand what you're saying in terms of not restricting people, but my whole idea with this was to not make any dent in terms of the conference and professional development to the budget, but be able to, I suppose, people who want to access it have a bit more ability to access it, because at the moment you're capped. Each councillor is capped, whereas we're not. Each councillor isn't told that we've only got $5,000 to spend on conferences, and that's your limit. That's it. I guess that's more the reasoning behind it, because I got a lot out of that course, but I've had to agree with both you and the CEO that that's 2 years worth of my professional development gone for one course. So I guess that's my rationale behind it. As I said, 48, it still gives you wiggle room. Didn't get close to it even in 2022, 23 when there were 8 new councillors on and we were all keen to go to absolutely everything. We still didn't get close to the 48,000. So I'm against the amendment.
Thank you. Councillor Peterson, you're speaking for or against it?
I'll speak against the amendment.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I actually agree with what pretty much everyone has said. I'm very reassured that if we need to, we can, on a case-by-case basis, approve the money. I think if we look like we're allocating another $12,000 for ourselves, we've never needed to do, because we're never going to be close to that money. It's just a look that the community will not like. So I'm happy to speak against the amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Greenouch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to speak for the amendment. My concern is, what if everyone wants to do that course? Where do we end up then?
Just direct your questions through me, Councillor McDonald, not directly to the other councillor. Anything else, Councillor Greenouch? Thank you. Councillor Duffy.
I want to speak for the amendment. Basically, because I think if we are coming short on the professional development, the councillor or the mayor or the CEO can put forward a recommendation to come to council to increase that funding, where that money can come from. It's quite simple. I like the figure of $60,000 for going to conferences. There are valuable, as you know yourself, Mr. Mayor, and Councillor Whitten does. When you go away to these conferences, you do meet various different ministers and those topics who make decisions that whether you can get some funding or whether you can't, and you do form an association with, irrespective of what political party you come from. But in saying that, I again go back to the situation. It's only a policy, and council has the right to change it or go against its policy, as it has done before.
Councillor Duffy. Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I don't support the amendment. I thank Councillor McDonald for explaining her reasoning, and I do think the professional development budget being increased is important. The Local Government Act these days provides that we're actually required to professional development plans and to think about the professional development that we want to do. This year's budget won't have been spent much because we spent half a year not being councillors pretty much, and we're really just getting back up and running now. I've already done a course with Climate Emergency Australia. I'm governing in the climate emergency in this term. It'll probably be next financial year before I'm doing more things, and I take the point that individual councillors are going to develop their professional development goals with staff. It's appropriate for them to have a healthy budget to be able to try and actually do the sorts of development that they're interested in and advance in new ways. So again, completely agree on the value of attending conferences. I think particularly the LGNSW and the ALGA conferences are ones that I like to attend every year. This year is going to be the first time I miss ALGA because of competing personal commitments. So they're definitely important, but we haven't gone over the budget on those. And as Councillor Duffy notes, it's a policy. If we got to a point where see that there are conference attendance always comes to the council meeting that's where we can easily decide to make a change policy or go against the policy at that point. We're bringing an item about an individual have to see development plan. Actually, I think a lot less appropriate. So that's why I'm not going to support the amendment.
I think so, Councillor Mallard. Any further discussion? Put the amendment. Show of hands for. Those against. I have the casting vote, and I'll vote for the amendment. The amendment now becomes a motion. Show of hands for.
Unanimous.
Thank you. Council, we go to item 5.7, strategic policy reviews post-exhibition. There's a recommendation on page 451. Can I have somebody move it? Moved by Councillor Power, seconded by Councillor Kinghorn. Any discussion? There being none, I will put the motion. Show of hands for. Unanimous.
What was that?
With me 1 second, councillors.
Number one, Chair, Council needs to determine the change requested in item number 1. Director, would you mind standing up and directing the councillors to this process?
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we do have a proposed change to this policy that was received through Councillor Peterson, I believe, that just talks to the in-kind support for councils in venue hire to the maximum of $1,000. So we just need to ensure that the councillors are aware that that is the amendment that they are voting for, not just bringing on the exhibited policy.
Can I just confirm that was under the delegation for the CEO?
Yes, so that's what we're talking to. So it's just on page 452. The program category CEO approval is amended to 5.2 in-kind support for council services, and then the amendment being and council venue hire to a maximum of, and then an amendment to $1,000 per applicant, with a note that the lesser amount may be donated and that there must be a not-for-profit applicant. So the changes there are to add in that a council venue hire is added to the in-kind support paragraph, and that the value is changed to $1,000 per applicant.
Thank you very much. Before we go on to Councillor Peterson, are all councillors clear on the changes? Any questions to the Director before we go to Councillor Peterson?
Can I please ask the Director what you propose the Council votes as number 1? That Council, what would the wording, Chair, be of?
They accept the changes proposed by Councillor Peterson or by the submission whilst on exhibition.
As printed, perhaps?
As printed.
Okay, so number 1 becomes, Chair, that Council it will be a single motion saying that Council adopts the policies because those things are in the policy. Sorry, Chair, that's what we're going to do, a single option. Got you, thank you.
Councillor Peterson, do you have any?
To say that was based on previous council meetings where we were sort of approving a refund of sums under $100. And I just want to thank Director Sharp for liaising with me over email about getting the wording right.
And I suppose the recommendation, Mayor, is that 0.2.
Yes.
Correct.
The way I took it.
Thank you, Councillor Mallard.
Thank you.
Completely support this. Thanks for the work on the submission, and to the staff for putting it through. I've talked about it at some of the meetings previously where we had situations where this would have things needing to come before us that were clearly good ideas. Provide use of a council facility.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for. Unanimous. Councillors, if we go to item 5.8, strategic policy reviews, on page 469, there is a recommendation. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Greenhalgh, seconded by Councillor Duffy. Any discussion?
Yeah, my comment is just on the actual banners, and I don't think there's much change to that banner situation. My question really goes back to why haven't we got the Anzac banners up? It's more important than anything other thing going on. It's the most critical service that.
I think you're wording a want here, Councillor Duffy, because my understanding is they are going up tomorrow, but I'll just defer to the CEO.
Correct, Mr Mayor, they're going in the morning.
Excellent.
Crews are putting them up in the morning.
Only 9 days before. To me, it's a bit of an insult.
It's a bit of a what, sir?
It's a bit of an insult to those who lost their lives and their families that are still here. It's the best service that can actually happen that anyone can give is their service to their country, whether you're Prime Minister, Mayor, Councillor or whatever you are in the community.
Councillor Duffy, would you like to propose for next year that we look at a different time frame?
I think it should be a month before Anzac Day, 25th of March.
I'll ask for Council to come back.
Yeah, we'll take that notice. And
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councillor Peterson.
Yeah, just on ST38, the events on council-owned land, just wanted to flag, and I've spoken to the Director previously about the Ageing and Access Committee on 27th of March requested that event booking forms include a section, by the way, just identifying where accessibility aids like wheelchair ramps are located and how to use them. They are stored under the rotunda for what it's worth. And I've been told that some event organisers definitely know, but there's a way that it can be clear for future ones that would be putting the assets to the best use.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further discussion? There being none, I'll put the motion to show of hands for. Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Okay. Go to item number 6, closed meeting. Chief Executive Officer will now advise the Council if any written submissions have been received relating to any item advertised for consideration by a closed meeting or in City Council.
We have received none, sir.
Thank you. In accordance with Local Government Act 1993, the Local Government General Regulation 2021, in the opinion of the Chief Executive Officer, the following business is of kind as referred to in Section 10A2 of the Act and should be dealt with in confidential session of Council, closed meeting to the press and public. The following items: 6.1, proposed boundary adjustment to Cottonwood Close, is classified under the provisions of Section 10A2 D2, information that would, if disclosed, confer a commercial advantage on a competitor of council. 6.2, submission redaction report, 15 April 2025, is classified confidential under the provisions of Section 10A 2E, information that would, if disclosed, prejudice the maintenance of law. Can I have somebody move and second that we're going to close council? Moved by Councillor Greenhouse, second by Councillor Judge.